Good evening, everybody. We're coming to the close of today's workshop. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All of us are in Penang today. I haven't been to Penang in a long time, but it's a good opportunity to come to Penang to visit and to do business. And it's been an interesting day hearing about fiber to the home. Myself, as the vice chair for the technology architecture, we travel along to many other countries. But to see a state organization doing this initiative is very good. Can we just give a big round of hand to PDC Telco? Countries embark on building fiber infras. This is a state initiative, and I think all of us want to know, what is in it for us? Kenapa kita nak buat ni? First is for economic welfare. When a state becomes knowledgeable through technology, then you become wealthy through the economic growth of that state. And today you need technology. You need fast broadband. And countries like Singapore, New Zealand, Australia are trying to catch up. Malaysia has started, and Penang is beginning its journey. And we hope that, with all this input and the developers here, the guys with the land and who are going to develop properties, and the foreign direct investments who have been supporting Penang in the past 30, 40 years, they want to come to Penang. Many Kwailo, white men, they want to come to countries that are comfortable, got beach, nice hot weather, good food, and ultra-fast broadband. If you got snail-space broadband, they said, I can't do anything. They got bad traffic jams, they don't want to come. They got bad food, get diarrhea, they don't want to come. No water, they don't want to come. But we have everything in Malaysia, and Penang is a beautiful pearl of the Orient before, and it was a famous entry port. And God willing, we will embark on this journey together. And I hope the developers, the owners of buildings, see that this is the way. I think Steve mentioned in his slides, real estate in Taiwan, where was it? Korea, sold out. When you put ultra-fast broadband, everybody says, who tells them? The children tell the father, hey, buy quickly, got 50 meg, 100 meg here, quickly go and buy this apartment, condominium. Today the children dictate what they want, and families. So please ask questions, what you want to ask from the panel here, very distinguished panel here, very senior people who have been with me on many of the road trips. And hopefully we can share and learn together in our next journey till 2015 and onwards. Thank you. And please ask questions. Only when you ask, you learn, and we grow. Thank you. Anybody want to ask the first question to the panel? What about the operators? Time is here. Maxis. From the developers, who's here? The developer? Any of the developers here? No developer here? Developer, IGM, is it? Okay.
The whole day we've been hearing about architecture, about fiber, and all these things actually means nothing if there is no content. What I mean by content is local content. Is Penang government doing anything to encourage more local content and provide platform for local developer of all this lifestyle, entertainment, and info for Malaysians?
Okay, Doctor, you want to have the first go at it?
I'm not really a content person, but I believe there are so many initiatives today for Malaysia as a whole to drive the content, local content in Malaysia. But I think the content issue has always been challenging, difficult situation for the country. I think it's unlike Korea, where the language is quite a barrier for them to go out of the country. It is very important for them to develop the content themselves. That is one factor. But in our case, our English is good. The contents are from everywhere in the world. We also have a big Chinese population, which the contents coming from Hong Kong, from China, and so on. So the drive for content, local content, is quite challenging for local people to develop local content for Malaysia. I think that is the issue. And I don't think I have the answer for that question, because if someone spend a lot of resources to develop local content, but nobody want to see, nobody want to pay for it, it's going to be very, very tough for the developer. So I think this is a national issue. It's something that is quite a big issue, which there are certain content that has been developed. I mean, you saw on TV what do you call it? Ipin and Upin and Ipin. That is a good content that has developed in the country. But how far it can go is something that we have to see. So that's my view.
Thank you, Doctor. Jeff, you want to add on?
I may have a different view, perhaps. I tend to look at lifestyle, or the Y generation lifestyle, as, in a day you tend to look into 3 sets of mirrors. First set of mirrors is as big as your mobile phone, your smartphone. The second set of mirror could be in the form of a tablet PC or a desktop PC in your office. When you get home, the third set of the mirror is the TV set. So 3 screens you are looking at. So I'm thinking that the content is not only content produced for you, but I think there's also the emergence of a new set of content creators. That is what we call the citizen-created content or citizen-generated content. One of the easiest and that sucked up bandwidth is basically things like YouTube. And people can produce YouTube. When you have Gangnam Gangnam Style, Oppa Gangnam Style, we have our Sabah Gangnam Style, we have
Penang
Gangnam Style. Now, those are videos, simple videos taken on the mobile phones, tablet PC, or even a real camera. When it posted up, and it generates a lot of attention. That is content creation. It is not content built for you, but it's content generated by the internet users themselves. And I see that, for example, in Penang, when we plan the network, we are looking at the capacity of the bandwidth. I take, for example, the smallest cellular 3G cellular player. They have the line of sight in terms of the traditional towers. From Berjaya Hotel to Vistana Hotel. Line of sight, perhaps 7.5 kilometers. It used to be transmitting on microwave, the STM1 155 megabits. But right now, the capacity that you have utilized have grown by many folds. That 155 is no longer sufficient. It's already 2.5 gig. And it's still growing. So that is due to all these locally generated content, citizen-generated content. But I think YouTube might be a crude form of content. You have those artistically inclined YouTube look-alike, which is called Vimeo. If you happen to look at Vimeo, they are classified according to certain themes. And the quality of production is much better. It's not a random impulsive taking of videos that is uploaded impulsively. So I think that would be one. The second new trend that I see is that what makes iPhone and iPad so popular is because of the abundance of the applications, the little small apps, free apps, 99-cent USD app or whatever. But the apps really change the landscape of data consumption. And I think this is where the infra provider like us may want to look at in order to help the operators to bridge the gap of the capacity that they don't have, that have gone to destroy the quality of service to a certain degree. So that's my take. You're looking at 3 different screens per day, young, men, old folks, and so on. Thanks.
Thank you, YB Jeff. The interesting point that YB Jeff mentioned is that user-created content, it's called UCC. In Korea, UCC is nearly equal to the content that is coming down from created outside their homes in Korea. So when I mentioned to you about the digital economy, what is the economy? What's the population of Penang? Let's say if 3.5 million individuals, and if they can become digitally enabled, they create content that's economically viable, 1 million a day becomes 365 million GDP a year. In 10 years, it becomes 3.65 billion. That's what we're talking about digital economy, to add on the point, basically. It's not one way down. It's everybody becoming activated in the digital economy. They become also digitally monetized. They can actually sell their products, making weaving baskets, simple stuff. It's no joke. You can do a lot of things. People can sell products on YouTube. Just take a picture of themselves and sell a product. Okay? Anybody else wants to add anything else from the point?
Sorry, just one more points about related to fiber contents as well as the user-created content. In the old days, we used to have a big download capacity, but very small upload capacity, because we tend to download a lot of information through our Streamix or whatever it is. But sending out information is very little, so they don't need that high bandwidth for uploading. But with the UCC and so on, you need much higher bandwidth to push your content out into the nets. And that's where the fiber will facilitate that process. In fact, with fiber, you can have same bandwidth up and down easily configured in the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. Any other questions? Please. Please state your name and where you're from.
My name is Li Chi from Penang Institute. A few questions regarding the master plan that YB we discussed just now. The first one is I'm happy to see that the PD's telco is taking consideration of the industrial needs into the planning of the routes. For example, the needs of BPO, business processing, outsourcing, and everything. I would like to ask, what is the priority and when you design this broadband infrastructure? Is it more on equal priority for the industrial or households? And also, since you're going now is ongoing to design the routes in Seberang Price, is it going to put some more priority on the new developing zones such as Batu Kawan, or how are you going to plan that? That's my question number one. And question number two is one of your key statements. One of them is to reduce the cost of ownerships of broadband end users, for example, public sector, MNCs, etc. And how can this be done? I mean, I can see that you are creating a healthy competition environment for the operators. And besides this, is there any strategic plan going on? Thank you very much.
Okay, YB.
Thank you so much. That's a very interesting question. I was waiting for that to happen. Yes, when we plan on this, we had certain stakeholders in mind, as I mentioned to you. And it goes along the core nerve center of Penang's domestic economy. And we are looking at sectors that create jobs, sectors that create job opportunities, and we wanted to sustain it. And at the same time, we also wanted to look at how can we maintain our competitive edge against the regional players, emerging regional players. We used to start in 1974 at our Bayan Lepas free trade zone with all those assembly and tests. 30 years down the road, we have been doing very much basically the same thing. But the whole world has spun into a different set of animals, and we have lost out in the large volume, low value commodities to those lower cost center when it comes to labor. We have lost out to China and Vietnam, for example. So we are looking at some form of transformation within the industry that had been taking place over the 1 decade. And we understand when we took over as the government 2008, one of the key projects that I helped in my small way is to facilitate for the ground preparation for a new factory that they tore down in order to build new ones. And the company is called Honeywell. What products do they bring into Malaysia? It is building components, avionic components for aircraft. And their customers are basically Boeing and Airbus. And they're building the components right in Penang. Now, that strikes an idea for all of us at the Penang State Government. Now, these are just component manufacturers for the large product like an aircraft. So there would be certain R&D processes taking place. There would be certain design and development, D&D processes taking place in Penang. Now, what we want to enable that our D&D team, R&D team back in Butterworth, Honeywell site is in Prai, that they can create all those components, whether it's on AutoCAD output, that they can share with their headquarters in Seattle or Chicago, wherever, as if they are sharing files next door. Now, in order to do that, you need to have big bandwidth at a lower cost. So that was one of the key motivation for us, that when we looked at, okay, we wanted to really benefit this to help Penang transform its economic model when it comes to the core generator of job opportunities, the buying power and so on. That's number one. And with that Honeywell success, SAM came in, a Temasek company, the Singapore aerospace manufacturers came in. So these are strategic shift for Penang State Government. We want to continue to provide that. So one of the key ways is to future-proof our network so that we can move along the same pace as advanced countries when they are doing side-by-side or off-site these research centers. Number one. Now, we're also looking at the entire conduit whereby we built this with ample capacity without over-speccing it. Then we can control costs. And at the same time, all this presence of bandwidth, at least things that we can control is within our statewide local area network bandwidth costs. That is something that we can deploy back, for example, to enhance the local throughput of Penang free Wi-Fi. That's one example. To provide connectivity at a much lower cost if there are some cache servers around at the nodes for those commonly downloaded content, so that you don't have to travel outside the border router. So that's something that we thought immediately you can benefit the residential users. So the third portion is that we also wanted to create this point of differentiation for the greenfield industries. And that applies to our Penang state-owned project like Batu Kawan, with the affordable housing up and coming, and as well as new factories that are being put together at Batu Kawan. So with all this input together, we look at it as it is quite a compelling business proposition that will benefit, and the spillover in fact, I think it is quite unmeasurable. For the second part of the question, bringing down the cost of ownership, I pass to my beloved partner.
Thank you, YB Jeff. And Dr. on the second note on the total cost of ownership.
I think this is it's not a magic issue. I think I gave an example this morning about the digging out of the roads by 3 operators. I've illustrated if a single operator had to spend 200,000 ringgit per kilometer, and if you allow 3 operators to dig the same road, you are going to spend 600,000, and there is no value added to it. It's just money wasted, buried in the ground forever, right? So that is part of the cost saving, and we hope that through that cost saving, the cost saving will be passed on to the end users by having a reduced price for the people per subscription fee and so on. So, the other aspect of the cost pushing the cost down is competitions. The only way for competitors to check each other is through competitions. And that gives a choice for users, and that will certainly will push down the price, the cost to the end users. And thirdly is about the opportunity. This is something that we cannot guarantee. But once we have a good infrastructure, fiber optic infrastructure, there is possibility, there is high attraction for the content from overseas to be located here in Penang, for example. Right? What does it mean? If there is, say, Google or Facebook or someone else that located their data center in Penang, it means that the local service provider does not have to pay for international bandwidth for local users to access Google or Facebook's. And that is another reduction of the cost to the operator, which hopefully will be passed on to the end users. So these are the thing that I think that will contribute to the cost reduction to the end users at the end of the day.
Thank you, Doctor. I just like to ask Stephen. Can you give a comment, Stephen? Stephen Foster, on cost.
Well, I didn't really address cost in anything I said, but you know, I think all of the things that Dr. Awang just said play a part. I think you've got to design the system well. You've got to drive the system strongly, drive competition. Competition's what's going to take down the cost. If we've got the lowest cost built network with the greatest competition between service providers, then we're going to drive down the costs. And it'll take that to be proven. I mean, it'll take some time for that actually to wash out. But I believe that's what will happen.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Actually, the point that I'm trying to make basically is that if you plan today something well, it will last you for the next 20 years. If you put in crap, you're going to get shit floating down your rivers. So you plan well, execute well, implement well, it will last you. Fiber is that stable. Is that stable if you do it well? That's the point. Stephen and I are advocates, and of course Bernard and all of us tell you, go for quality, standard implementation. It will last. And fiber is glass. It will perform. Okay, next question. Oh, we got a construction man there.
Hello. My question is, we understand that the supplier is sharing for the micro-trenching solutions. And currently, is it the micro-trenching solution, is it applicable for the JKR or the local council? Because that currently we are using either it's HDD or trenching solution for the civil work. So we just want to make sure that the solution for micro-trenching, is it applicable for Penang councils or JKR standards?
And your name is?
Stewart.
Stephen. Okay, I believe you're a contractor, Stephen? A contracting company?
We are a panel contractor from Time and also for fiber optic contractor as well,
okay,
for developers.
Thank you. I think Jeff did allude in his presentation that they're getting ICRAM to certify the standard actually. And that would be the comment that I think he will be making. But anyway, I'll leave to comment to Jeff. You want to comment on this?
Yes, the local authority, the JKR, as well as MPPP have a reservation over the deployment through micro-trenching. Now, who to blame? Why do they have such caution? It's because there had been previous attempts by the contractors when they deploy trenching in Penang State, and they did not really adhere and comply with set benchmark, and it caused damage to the road pavement, slight cave-in after heavy traffic and so on. So they're pretty cautious, and right now JKR and MPPP, they are quite, they speak the same language when it comes to allowing micro-trenching, and they are looking at ways to prevent damage to the roads under the jurisdiction, and they're prescribing that trenching must be done below the 12-inch level, which is basically 4 inches of bitumen and then about 8 inches of this crusher run. And preferably, they do not want us to touch the bitumen as well as the crusher run. There were past instances where contractors buried the ducts at the 6-inch level. That is pretty too shallow. So because of that, they have set very strong benchmarking, but we are trying to iron out certain issues, whether this 12-inch requirement, beyond 12-inch requirement, it's due to the technical requirement or it's due to enforcement issues. And we simulated that within with the lab test conducted by ICRAM. And we are coming up with the test results to be shared. But we wanted to isolate problems from other determinants. So we wanted to ensure whether the caution over micro-trenching above 12-inch level is due to technicalities or due to enforcement issues. We wanted to identify that in order to solve the question. As for our PDC network, we have more than 50% of footprint recommended for micro-trenching. We wanted to save time, we wanted to save cost, and at the same time, we want to have speedy deployment. So that would be the benchmark recommended by our consultants, and we adhere to that.
Thank you, maybe. I also like to invite Ken Lay from FOAX. Can he give me some comments from his previous experience with other authorities? Ken?
Okay. What we experience mainly in the Klang Valley, especially with the DBKL, with the what you call the cutting depth and the width that presented just now is acceptable by the DBKL. So for other local authority, we did also talk to MPPJ, MPS. Basically, what they refer now is because they take a benchmark from DBKL, so they accept whatever the spec that we present to them. For other sites like JKR, under the federal roads or other state, sorry, I got no comment on that. So this is basically my experience in Klang Valley only.
Ken, just to push you a bit, the challenge was technical or non-technical?
I would say that technically there is no problem to do it. Yeah.
Okay, we're all scientific community here, so we have to be technical or non-technical. So I think PDC got will here, you know. So we have to look at technical issues. If it's a mechanical issue, it's a physical constraint, let's overcome it. But let it not be a non-technical issue. Okay, that's my point basically. Okay, next question.
Hi, I'm Wayne from Hansa Properties, Berhad. And I have one question related to the building statutory issues. Let's say under the normal conventional, the building plans OC submissions, and the building plans and the plan submission will be submitted to the Telecom, Malaysia Berhad. And so the service provider normally is a Telecom. What if, let's say, we subscribe to PDC or any message service provider, and at the end, during the OC application, do we go back to the Telecom, or do we get the OC clearance from message or other parties, and how we are going to get the OC at the end, since the Telecom is not the provider? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff or Dr. Mohamad?
Actually, the MCMC should respond to these questions. He left at 3 p.m. But let me put this way. As far as the network facility provider, NFP license, any NFP licensee can provide the approval or can give the undertaking to provide the service. It's not Telecom Malaysia. There's no more Telecom Malaysia as the single party who can give the endorsements. This is a misconceptions over the last many years, and it still happens today. So this is what I think the developers has to understand. You don't have to go to a specific NFP. You can choose which one that you prefer, if you like. Or you can select among the NFP based on your own criteria. So that is the way to do it. I'm not sure what else to say.
I think the follow-up question basically is that the OC, isn't it? The occupational certificate is issued by who? Yeah, by the local council. So CCC, that's under the local authority.
Yeah, I know the CCC is will be issued by the PSB, which is the architect professional. And what if the conventional, like still, there are few cases still falling under the, oh yes, it's still under OC by the local authority, by MPPP, and which all the building plans and whatever, I mean the plans will be circulated to the telecoms, and will they undertake, or who?
I think we were all confused, is it?
Yes, I think the transition wasn't that seamless, and information was not imparted in an efficient manner. Okay, for those building plans that fall under the old regime, where you have to wait for the local council who approve your building plans to issue the OC, you please follow suit, so that you follow through until the end, so that you avoid complication. Now, the other portion for those applications, building plans and so on, that comes under the new regime, the professional body, the architect, will issue the CCC. Am I right? Now, so that portion, in fact, you follow suit. But when it comes to telecommunication, you don't have to take the undertaking of Telecom Malaysia at all. What if you apply through Telecom Malaysia? Oh, since you are coming to my door, knocking on my door, I'll accept it. But whether I'll roll out the service for you is subject to the economic terms again. So there are instances where you submitted the plan to Telecom Malaysia, but they don't deploy to your doorstep. So there are certain things. Dr. Muhammad Awala has rightly pointed out that you looked around the register of NFP, Network Facilities Provider. There's one category. There are 4 categories of licensees under MCMC. First is the Network Services Provider, NSP. These are the people who provide services, all kinds of telecommunication services to the general public, to the commercial sectors. The second portion is people like us providing facilities that we are called NFP, Network Facilitator, Network Facilities Provider. And you can approach one of us. There are so many. And most of the tier 1 and the tier 2, the newcomers in the telco, among the telco players, they are both NFP and NSP. If you were to choose Telecom Malaysia, for example, you have other ample choices. Time Telecom, Maxis, DG. It's just that some of these telcos do not wish to enter into any services apart from cellular. Some of them focus very much or 100% on cellular or mobile broadband rather than fixed line pulling cables to your premises. So that leaves you, if you are along Gurney Road, Jalan Kelawai, I advise you to talk to people like Time Telecom or Maxis. They may have some form of this fiber optics ready. Unfortunately, Telecom Malaysia, as far as I know, pushes itself out of the market because they chose to terminate their fiber optics broadband. As far as mainland is concerned, Seberang Jaya. And as far as island is concerned, somewhere around Bukit Jambul. That's it. So if you want to have fiber all the way, talk to Time Telecom, talk to Maxis. These are the 2 guys right now. I'm not doing free advertising.
Well, why be Jeff?
But the key issues to take home is that you should stop thinking about just Telecom Malaysia. They don't have a strategy. They don't have a time frame as far as Penang is concerned to roll fiber all the way beyond Bukit Jambul and beyond Seberang Jaya. That's a fact. I'm not trying to belittle any party. That is a fact based on the applications for the trenching submitted through us, and then we kept that data and we look at the picture. That is how it is.
Okay. Thank you, YB.
Just to take this opportunity, since you are talking about this, I'm not sure how many of us here are coming from the local council, local authorities, but perhaps because I've seen a form, certain form from the local authorities that specify Jabatan Telekom Malaysia today. While Jabatan Telekom Malaysia has been disbanded 1980 something, that's 20 years ago. But the form still have Jabatan Telekom Malaysia. So if any one of us here, maybe this is something that the state government can initiate to check the form, whether that form still has that JTM or not. JTM has been taken over by MCMC. And the operation part has been taken over by Telekom Malaysia. The MCMC is the one that is supposed to manage the regulatory parts.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. We are at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. now. And before closing up, maybe there's any last question we can maybe address to the other members of the panel. If they are not, I will let the members of the panel, each one of them, have a short say before we end the session today. Is there any last question? Okay, if not, then can we just go down the table? Doctor, you want to say a few words before we...
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank PDC Telco for an excellent program. I think there's a lot of interaction that we had today. The FTTH Council is always very willing to assist, and also same time we try to learn from the local markets. There's a lot of things that both sides can share. And what PDC is doing today is a very bold step, I mentioned before, and it is a learning process for everybody, and we are here hand in hand supporting the fiber rollout. There's a lot of challenges in coming. Let's not make any mistake that there's no challenges. Everything's going to be smooth sailing, but we'll get it through together. That's all I need. Thank you.
Tim?
I'd like to also do the same thing, to thank you all for inviting us, and to just generally encourage you that the project that's going on here, everyone that's stood behind the podium, I think, has said this is going to be the standard of communication in the future. It's not an idea to do this in order to keep up, but at the moment you'll excel above other parts of the country if you move ahead right now. I think that'll be evident in the real estate market, evident in the content delivery market also, but also in the creation of jobs and businesses and smaller companies here in Penang also, and inviting the other companies to come in, like Jeff was saying. So, I feel like the Fiber to the Home Council would be more than happy to work with you guys to, be a reservoir of advice, to be someone who's seen other implementations like this go into place, some that did work out well, some that didn't, and learn from that advice in a positive way before you spend the money. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.
Hi. I heard a few comments in the last questions that I think show that really we need to start opening our minds. We're talking about opening the ground. Did it just open? And we've got to open the ground one way or another to build this network. I think it's a bold step taken by PDC Telecom to try and create this for Penang, to try and make Penang an even better place to live, to keep the growth that's gone on in the last 30, 40 years in Penang moving forward positively. And you won't do this if we keep going back to Jabatan Telekom Malaysia. right? I completely concur with what's been said. We've got to go forward. We've got to go forward at the speed of light and really move these things on from where you are today and look at some of the new, newly aggressive telcos, the moves that Time have made, for example, what Maxis are trying to do, but not always riding on Telecom Malaysia's wholesale situation. There are other opportunities coming into the market, and if they can bring content in and bring resources in on the back of another system, in other words, the PDC system, the open system, this is going to change the scope in Penang for finding applications, for growing Penang, for growing the network available in Penang. And applications will come, residential service providers will come if the opportunity's there. There's a few things still got to be done, but this is a tremendous step in the right direction to open up the network to those things. And I think we should all applaud what PDC are trying to do here and put all the incumbent back in its place and get really moving on new things. And I think this is really what's going to drive this forward in Penang. And you'll see the benefit as time goes on if you support it. Try and support it from the real estate sector, from the contractor sector, you know, from business development sector. Certainly the MNCs are going to love it. I think what Jeff was saying earlier. I work in Thailand for part of our business. Thailand has really taken a step forward. What are they doing? Fiber to the factory, because that's what the MNCs want. They want to be able to video conference. This is what's got to be enabled, for example, from this strategy and that's been employed by PDC. Okay, said enough.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting today. I hope today I explain today I explained some reference for you. I hope it is will be useful for you in the future. Thank you today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I think that first of all, thanks PDC and the organizer to have such a great place for us, especially to meet everyone here. Beside that, we can share our regional experiences with everyone. I think that it is almost needless for me to reiterate how important it is for the national to go broadband, and it is a very smart move by the PDC Telecom to move the Penang into what we call as the intelligent city. And I mean, there has been many discussion on social benefits, social economics benefits and everything else. But for me, from the personal perspective, I like to speak on behalf, being, let's say, just be part of the working life there. We desperately need a lot of high-speed application to our home. And it is unavoidable because of so many interesting things outside that we actually can be easily connected to it, so long we had these high-speed connections. And having said that, if we can get it on a cheaper price, why not? Do you agree? All right. So, and I totally applaud to the PDC Telecom to make it happen. And of course, from my company perspective, to get things done, get there first and to do it right the first time is what we actually think will be a right place to start and a really good strategy to go with. All right.
Thank you very much.
First, we would like to thank PDC to give us an opportunity to share our microtrenching experience. And I feel very glad that PDC decide to use microtrenching as one of the techniques to roll out this fiber network. As earlier our panel said that you want to build your network right, so you have to plan right. So make it for your future, not for tomorrow only. Right, thanks.
Thank you, all the speakers and panelists. Please give them a round of applause.